Wherever we go, we come across changes that are constantly happening. For example, the burning of candle, rusting of a piece of iron, or blooming of flowers, and so on. Some of these changes are physical and some are chemical in nature. For example, I am crumbling this piece of paper. This is a physical change because there is no new substance formed over here. Only the shape and appearance of the paper has changed. Let me try out with another strip of paper where we are going to burn it. The burning of a paper is a chemical change because a new substance is formed. Now this is another example. This is a foil made up of aluminium metal. Just think about it. Now today we are here to have a demonstration to see the mixing of two elements, sulfur powder and iron filings. I am going to mix both of them together. Now I will bring a magnet near the mixture. The iron is still attracted towards the magnet because the properties of iron has not changed on mixing with sulfur. Hence it is a physical change. Now I will heat this mixture. Will the properties of the mixture change? Let us see. We have just seen a reaction where iron combined with sulfur to form iron sulfide. Let us see iron nails getting attracted towards magnet. Will the rusted nails get attracted? Even rusted nails get attracted. What is this rust on the iron nails? This is chemically iron oxide. which is formed by the combination of iron and oxygen present in the air. Iron oxide is a compound. We have got iron oxide here. Will it get attracted towards the magnet? Iron oxide is not getting attracted towards magnet. Then why does rusted iron nail gets attracted towards magnet? This is so because iron nails have a thin coating of iron oxide on them and there is still iron inside. That is why they are attracted by the magnet. A combination reaction is a reaction in which two or more elements or compounds combine to give a product. Some of the combination reactions are very slow and many other are fast, and some are spectacular in nature, like the one I am just going to show just now. This is a strip of magnesium metal. We are going to bring it to the flame. Lights off. Besides heat, this reaction also produces a lot of bright light. Let us see what is this white ash. This is magnesium oxide obtained by a combination reaction of magnesium with oxygen present in air. I have a question for you. Is this magnesium oxide, the white ash which is obtained, heavier or lighter than the original magnesium metal? This is why magnesium is useful in Diwali fireworks. You must have seen the charcoal burning. Let us see it as a demonstration in the laboratory. We are going to identify the gas with the help of lime water. When charcoal burns in air, it produces a gas. Let us see which gas is produced. We can see the milkiness appearing in lime water. Now we are going to see another example where an element combines with a compound to form another compound. This is a utensil made up of silver. You must have noticed a black deposit on silver utensils. What is this black substance? This is a compound formed when element silver combines with hydrogen sulfide present in air. This compound, black colored compound which is formed, is known as silver sulfide. This turns the silver black. Can we bring back the shine on silver? Let us see. I am scrubbing this utensil with a dry washing powder that will help to bring back the shine of silver. Can you notice any change? Now you can see the difference. This portion is shining and this is still having the black deposit. This is mercuric oxide and this is mercury. You already know mercury is the only metal which is in liquid state and it is highly dense. Can we convert mercuric oxide back to mercury? Yes, of course. Let us see. Let us observe the time also. We can see the decomposition reaction of mercuric oxide. Mercuric oxide here is decomposing into mercury, the shiny globules that you can see, and a gas. Mercuric oxide on heating decomposes to give mercury and a gas. This decomposition reaction that we are observing now was first performed in 1774 by an English scientist, Joseph Priestley. He called this gas lively air because it made candles burn more brightly. Now we know this lively air is actually oxygen. In a decomposition reaction, a compound breaks up into two or more products. Let us see some more examples of a decomposition reaction. Here I am having copper carbonate. Let us try out with this. We are going to heat copper carbonate. The green color copper carbonate is turning black. And some gas is also evolved. We can see the lime water turning milky. This is the carbon dioxide gas released. This piece of chalk is chemically calcium carbonate. We are going to see a decomposition reaction of calcium carbonate right now. This is a similar reaction as we have seen for the decomposition of copper carbonate. But here, the calcium carbonate will not change its color. It will remain white. The products which will be obtained will be calcium oxide and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide will be tested in lime water. We can see the milkiness appearing in lime water. Here is a compound, lead nitrate. I am going to heat it. Observe what happens. This compound is lead nitrate, which is breaking down into a brown gas, which is nitrogen dioxide. All these are examples of chemical reactions. Combination and decomposition are two basic kinds of chemical reactions that we have seen in the first part of this program. Today we are going to see an example of the displacement reaction between zinc and HCl. These are the zinc granules. In this reaction, zinc has displaced hydrogen from hydrogen chloride and formed zinc chloride. A gas is also evolved, that is hydrogen gas. Here are some kids dancing. One kid represents zinc, another pair represents hydrochloric acid. Observe them carefully. They are going to enact something like a chemical reaction. Now we'll see some more reactions. Here I am having magnesium metal, iron metal, gold and silver. This is hydrochloric acid. I'll put it into these 4 test tubes. Now I am going to add magnesium metal into hydrochloric acid. We can see a vigorous reaction taking place here. Let us see what happens when iron is added into hydrochloric acid. Yes, the reaction has started here also. Is there any difference between the two? Let us observe more closely. The reaction with magnesium is much more vigorous than the reaction of iron with hydrochloric acid. This is a ring made up of silver and this ring is made up of gold. I am going to add these two to hydrochloric acid. Let us see what happens. Nothing seems to happen. These two metals are inert. They do not react with hydrochloric acid. But we can see that iron and magnesium, they reacted so fast. Gold does not react with acids, water or even air. That is why gold is used for making jewelry. You must have relished pickles. Where do we store pickles? Pickles are stored either in a china clay or a ceramic, a glass or a plastic container. But we do not store pickles in a metal container. Why so? Pickles being acidic in nature will react with metals and that can be harmful for our body. This is hydrochloric acid. I am going to add to each of these test tubes. This is magnesium I am adding. This is aluminium, zinc, iron, tin and copper. A vigorous reaction has started in magnesium. It is reacting very fast. Even the reaction in aluminium has started. Zinc has also started reacting, even iron. Tin is taking some time to react and copper is not reacting. We can compare the reactivity of the metals here. Magnesium being the most reactive, copper is the least reactive, aluminium, zinc, iron and tin are lying in between. So this decreasing order of reactivity we can see over here. This orderly arrangement of reactivity of elements is known as the reactivity series. The reactivity series helps us to know whether the particular reaction will take place or not. For example, can we store copper sulfate solution in an aluminium vessel? Of course not. Aluminium is more reactive than copper. So, aluminium will displace copper from copper sulfate solution. Therefore, there is no question of keeping copper sulfate solution in aluminium vessel. From the reactivity series, now we know some elements are more reactive than others, and a more reactive element can displace a less reactive element from its salt solution. To test this, let us perform an experiment. This is ferrous sulfate salt. I am going to prepare a solution of this in water. This is the salt of copper sulfate, and now I am going to prepare a solution of copper sulfate in water. Now to check the reactivity of different elements, I am going to add copper metal to ferrous sulfate solution. I am going to add zinc to copper sulfate solution. Let us observe what happens. What do you think should happen here? We can see some reaction starting up here.
This reaction can be explained with the help of chemical molecular models. This model represents copper sulfate molecule. Here, green colored ball represents copper atom, purple colored balls represent sulfur, and oxygen is represented by red colored balls. Here, zinc is represented by dark yellow colored ball. When zinc is added, it takes the place of copper, displacing it from its position.
Nothing is happening here. No chemical reaction is occurring. What could be the reason for this? Yes, of course. Copper, being less reactive in nature, is not able to displace iron from ferrous sulfate solution. We have seen few of the single displacement reactions. Let us go a step further, where we are going to observe double displacement reactions. Here I am having lead nitrate. I am going to make a solution of this. This is a salt of potassium iodide. I am going to prepare a solution of potassium iodide in water. Now I am going to mix these two solutions in the conical flask. Let us see what happens. We can see a bright yellow precipitate formed. So what has happened in this reaction? This is an example of double displacement reaction. And this precipitate that we can see will be slowly settling down. Observe carefully. Now I am going to do the same experiment on semi-micro scale. The product obtained here is lead iodide and potassium nitrate. The yellow precipitate that we can see is of lead iodide.
This model represents the molecule of lead nitrate. Black colored balls represent lead atom, blue colored balls nitrogen atom, and red colored balls represent oxygen atoms. This model represents potassium iodide. Orange colored balls represent potassium and yellow colored balls iodine. When these two solutions are mixed in the double displacement reaction, two iodine atoms from two molecules of potassium iodide replace two nitrate groups and a yellow precipitate of lead iodide is formed.
Now let us see some more examples of double displacement reactions. Here we have two setups. One is the reaction of lead acetate with potassium iodide, another one with ferrous sulfate and sodium hydroxide. Let me make the solutions. I am going to make the solution of lead acetate in water. This is potassium iodide. I am going to make a solution of potassium iodide now. These solutions are ready. Now we are making a solution of ferrous sulfate. For that we also need sulfuric acid. Then I am going to make a solution of sodium hydroxide in water. So the solutions are ready. Let us mix them to see the actual reaction which is occurring. This is a displacement reaction with lead acetate and potassium iodide. Observe carefully what happens. What a wonderful precipitate has come up. Let us see another experiment. Yes, we can observe the green colored precipitate coming out from the colorless solutions. Does this mean a displacement reaction always forms precipitates, and that too colored? Of course not. Let us verify doing another experiment. Here we have two beakers. This is salt of sodium chloride. I am going to make a solution of sodium chloride with water. The solution is ready. This is salt of magnesium sulfate, and now I will prepare the solution of magnesium sulfate with water. Both the solutions are ready. We can see both the solutions are colorless. Let us mix both these solutions. The mixed solution is again colorless. Has the reaction occurred? Yes, the reaction has occurred, but both the products which are formed are colorless, so they are not visible. Something similar to this happens in our stomach also. If we have excess acid in our stomach, what do? We just take an antacid, which is nothing but a base. This base will combine with the excess acid in our body and neutralize it. So a similar neutralization reaction occurs in our body that will neutralize the excess acid, and hence we will be relieved of the burning sensation. What happens when a wasp stings someone? We apply a solution of vinegar. The wasp stings are alkaline in nature. Therefore, the acid neutralizes it and we are relieved of that pain. Similarly, when bees sting someone, we apply a bicarbonate solution because the bees' sting are acidic in nature, which are neutralized by applying a bicarbonate solution. Whenever you see a chemical reaction, think whether it is a single displacement reaction, a double displacement reaction, or a neutralization reaction.